Well, hello there, flourishes. It is glorious to see you here. Thank you for listening and being part of my life. It is really quite amazing that I have so many of you that I send this out to every week. I've been thinking a lot about shedding and letting go. It's autumn. I am watching the leaves fall from the trees every day. I have the great joy of looking out my kitchen window to a beautiful esplanade of huge trees, and they're almost bare. So they've turned to a beautiful yellow, a little bit of orange, and almost all gone. And that means the ground is full of color and it looks really lovely. There's a little bit more kind of watery grey light that comes through the kitchen window. And I've been thinking about shedding because I am at the same time packing boxes and getting rid of stuff out of my cupboards. I'm saying goodbye to books. Now, for those of you who know me very well, you'll know that that is incredibly hard, but I tell myself that other people also need to read those books. I keep the ones that are special. I have books with inscriptions from my grandmother who is no longer alive. I have books that I have had since I was a child, not very many, but enough. And there are many books that I have absolutely loved and have read multiple times, and perhaps they're coming along. The ones that I've made notes in, the ones that have been gifted to me by dear friends who I've met in the last 8 years. But there are a lot of books that I am passing on to others. And I had a really fantastic dinner with some people who are English speaking. All of them have a connection to Australia some weeks ago. And I set up a little bookshop where they could take whatever books they were interested in, and then many that I'll give away to the Goodwill shop or the op shop or the thrift store. I've also handing some on to some of the English teachers here that they might enjoy reading some books. So I'm seriously contemplating setting up a GoFundMe so that I can buy some of the books again. I've taken photos of the books fine, so I know which books I'm giving away, but I am bringing some with me across the ocean to Australia. So I've thought a lot about being intentional about letting go of things, and I have enough time that I can sit with items and kind of ask them questions. Are you going to serve me into this new life that I'm walking into? Or is it time to let you go? And there are some books that I brought here with me from Australia that I'm not bringing back. So that's interesting too. I think that's an important kind of insight and something to reflect on of how I've moved on as a person, and that I don't need to keep everything, even if it's been given to me by somebody who was special in my life once and maybe I don't have contact with them anymore. So I can let it go out of my life. So that is what has been on my mind. And it's an interesting process, and not anything. If you had have met me in January, February, March, April, May of this year, if you had have met me and said at the end of the year you'll be moving to Australia, I would have laughed in your face, seriously. So this is a very new thing, but it feels so right. So it's super exciting. And perhaps you're also considering doing something new or making a change. I know there are a few other people out there in the Substack land of where I publish this. There are other people who are also doing new things, traveling by themselves or starting new jobs, or it doesn't have to be big. But it is important that you're intentional about the process and that you're thinking about what it is that you're letting go, what it is that you're shedding. And I did write a piece this week about nourish and flourishing and about nourishing yourself. And my word of the year is nourish. And it's shown up in ways that I haven't expected necessarily. And that also is important, that we are open and reflective on where those things are. If you have a word of the year, how it's showing up and what it's meant to you. and perhaps not initially having any kind of idea of how, or you have an expectation of it's going to show up in a certain way, and then it takes a side path, a path less traveled perhaps. So I have a question, and it's pretty much similar to what I wrote already this week, but what's one thing you could release, not as a loss, but as a form of nourishment? And the idea of we can nourish ourselves by letting go and making space for other things. And how does nourishment show up in your life? It's also important. So, contemplating that question, I happen to serendipitously have a live guided tarot session, guided journaling and tarot card session with the remarkable Claire Brown. And it was really beautiful. It was really spontaneous. I just happened to be in the app and it popped up that she was live and I joined along. It was half an hour and it was really lovely, a really nice way of journaling. So I highly recommend that you check out Claire's work. And I don't have a tarot set yet, but it does interest me. I really enjoy contemplating how things show up in your life, and do have some other cards that I pull from, but they're not tarot. So I'm looking forward to diving into Claire's work a little bit more and her offerings, which is alive every Thursday going through a tarot deck. So that'll be exciting. It's something nice to do, a little pause. I'm also reading an amazing book, and it is by the Australian author Hannah Kent, who wrote Burial Rites. If you have read that book, amazing story. And it is called Always Home, Always Homesick. And talk about resonate. Unbelievable. Such a fantastic book. She went to Iceland on exchange, just as I, some years before, about 13 years before, went to where I'm living now. I was a Rotary exchange student. And what she described, her arrival, although I was met at the airport, she wasn't, it was very similar. I think culturally there's some huge similarities, this Nordic region. So it's been amazing to read Hannah's story and the things that you really notice when you've been a Rotary exchange student. So that's been really special. I highly recommend you check out Hannah and have a read of her book, particularly Burial Rites. Can't say it. So shedding, letting go, pruning, sloughing off, getting rid of, letting go into the universe. What are those things that you could release to help nourish you further in this glorious, flucking, flourishing life? I look forward to seeing you next week on Fluck Yeah Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Have an absolutely beautiful, mindful, and fun and playful weekend. Bye for now.